Hello, I'm Vix, and this is Random Witchcraft. Today, we are going to discuss a few misconceptions about different magical practices, which includes like witchcraft and occultism. And we'll throw in some spiritualism in there too. Of course, we have to start with some oldies but goodies, like that we're all evil and we practice black magic. And of course, that we worship the devil. Not saying that there isn't people out there that do worship the devil or Satan, but it's not everyone. Oh, and can't forget that we sacrifice babies or that we eat them. That was definitely a very old misconception. It was more of being a scapegoat. Like, we're the ones that caused the famines and the plagues and all the death of your livestock. Yeah. Most people, witches or not, are not capable, nor would they want to actually cause the famine or cursing the crops or killing the livestock or causing the plagues. Yeah, most of those, that was just nature. Nature does have a fun, sick joke on living creatures. Yeah, and definitely you can't forget that we all bathe in blood. Even though that was a crossed mythology that may or may not have actually happened. That was actually more of Elizabeth Bathory, which has more of vampire folklore than witches. But I digress. Next, we'll go with more stereotypes than misconceptions. Some of these, even practitioners are guilty of. Like, they say that you have to be female to be a witch, where in all actuality, the term witch that has nothing to do with gender. You could be of any gender to practice witchcraft and be a witch. Oh, and that we have lots of cats, and that we have to own cats because they are our familiars. Yeah, some people like dogs. Some people like snakes. I like all of them. I even like spiders. Go figure. Also, that you have to be in a coven, and that witchcraft is only a religion. Both are very untrue. Some of those are more of like gatekeepy type thoughts. But if you want to be a solitary practitioner, solitary witch, hell, if you want to live in the middle of the woods and live off the land and just scare the locals, you go right ahead and do that. Not saying that it's never a religion, because there are religious side of witchcraft. Like with Wicca, which is more of a religion. which quite often Wicca and witchcraft gets lumped together, which there are some correlation between the two, but they're not. You don't have to be Wiccan to be a witch. Just like Santeria has a lot of ties into Catholicism, and so does Hoodoo. The meaning behind of that could be a long discussion, and we may not have enough time for that today. There are the different pagan religions, which is very much a umbrella term, which I believe pretty much just means earth-based religions or beliefs. And can't forget the Christian witches. They do exist. They are out there. You don't have to give up your Christian beliefs to be a witch. Your witchcraft is your witchcraft. Even if you don't want to call it witchcraft. It's like granny magic, folk practices, traditional witchcraft. Folk practices are pretty much with everybody. Growing up, you probably had family members that did those quirky little things that you just didn't understand, that made absolutely no sense. And you just called it a superstition within your family. Hey, them's it's folk practices. Sometimes it's good to listen to those family members and maybe you get some understanding of how they are and why they believe in those things. Next, can't forget, you're not a real witch unless you were born into it or your ancestors were witches. Technically, everybody's ancestors were witches, whether they call themselves that or not. Like I said previously, everyone's family has this quirky little superstitions and ways of doing things. If you think about it, you get a bowl of soup. You have a cauldron with animal parts and herbs and vegetables all simmering together and giving the intentions of love and spreading it to your family. Those are always the best spells and potions, aren't they? Makes you think. Definitely you have to sell your soul to the devil or to a deity. You can if you want. It's not required. Some people worship deities. Some people work with deities. And some people don't work with or deal with deities whatsoever. Okay? It's your witchcraft. Do what you want. Oh, and you can't forget that it's not a real spell unless you cast a circle. I call bull. Who's to tell you how to do your own magic? If you want to use a circle, you use a circle. And cast that circle. If not, if you don't feel that it's needed, then don't. And that also, it's not a real spell unless you have candles or herbs or stones or even wands or having the athame to direct that power. Now, the tools can be very helpful and useful to give you something something to visually do to actually send out that energy, but they're not needed. They're nice to have, but they're not needed. And there are some practices that are definitely not necessarily attainable, like the Native American practices and like voodoo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. There is such thing as a closed practice. And unless you're initiated in those practices, they're not attainable. You can learn different aspects of it, but you'll never know the full knowledge unless you are actually initiated. And if it doesn't fit with you, then it's not going to be attainable. Not everything is for you. But you can learn whatever you want. Next week, we'll be starting a new little series, which is pretty much Witchcraft 101. Just to start off with that little series, we're going to go with some book recommendations for the beginner witches out there. Okay. See you next week. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell icon. Bye.